everyone, and welcome. Testing is dominating our daily conversation in the current COVID-19 crisis. As we talk about reopening our economy, testing is very important because we want to do it safely. Now, there are reports that we are doing more than 1 million tests every week, but it's not enough. We are also hearing how manufacturers are quickly ramping up production capacity of these test kits, and how FDA is authorizing new tests almost on a daily basis. So where is the problem? We hear a lot of stories in the media and it can be very confusing at times. So I've been thinking about this problem for some time now as I closely monitor and follow FDA's authorizations. And what I'm understanding is that we really need to pay attention to the finer details of the scope and limitations that FDA is putting on these tests that are coming out. So in this video, I'm going to go over some of those limitations so that we can help understand where there might be a bottleneck. Let's take a look. If you go to FDA's Emergency Use Authorization website, and I have provided a link in this slide, or you can look it up on Google, you will find a page like this. And as you scroll down, you will find a list of different authorizations, not just tests, but also other medical devices. So let's take the example of some of the tests. You might find a letter H next to the name of the test and the type under Authorized Settings column. Or another test might be listed as H and N. Yet another test might have H, M, and W next to it. So what does it all mean? We're going to look into those details in this video. H stands for Labs Certified under CLIA to perform high complexity tests, which means that this particular test can be done only in a CLIA certified lab capable of high complexity tests. They will have a quality management system, they have a control, they will have trained people. So this test can be done appropriately in those labs. M stands for Labs Certified under CLIA to perform high complexity and moderate complexity tests. And W stands for labs which have specifically received a CLIA certificate of waiver. They can do high and moderate complexity tests, but they must have this certificate of waiver. What is CLIA? So CLIA is Clinical Laboratory Improvement Amendment, and it stands for the 1988 Amendment to the Public Health Services Act that required these types of laboratories to receive a certification by the CMS. Now, the lab requirements were outlined in 42 CFR 493. So this is the legal and regulatory framework for laboratories within the United States. How does this program run? So CMS is in the middle of it. It publishes the CLIA rules and regulations. It issues lab certificates and conducts inspections and enforces compliance. FDA has an important role because it categorizes tests based on complexity, and it reviews the request for waiver against that determination. CDC plays more of an expert role, so it provides technical assistance, research, technical standards, and practical guidelines, best practices. It develops and distributes professional information, and it manages the Clinical Lab Improvement Advisory Committee. So how does FDA come up with the categories for complexity? And that's the most important thing we need to look at. There are three: waived, moderate complexity, or high complexity. And it is done based on scoring against 7 criteria. Knowledge. How much knowledge is required to run a particular test? Training and experience of people doing that test. Reagents and materials preparation. If there are a lot of materials and reagents required, handling and storage at certain conditions under certain controls, it will be moderate to high complexity. Characteristics of operational steps. If there's a lot of automation, not too many manual steps, it'll probably be moderate to low complexity. Calibration, quality control, and proficiency testing of materials. Test systems, troubleshooting and equipment maintenance. Interpretation and judgment. So a combination of scores, there's actually a 1 to 3 score for each of these criteria. If the score is above 12, it is rated as high complexity. And if a score is 12 or below, that specific test is rated at moderate complexity. And FDA may decide to waive the requirements if the test is very low risk, can be done very, very easily anywhere with people not having a lot of technical capability and training, then it'll be under waived. So let's look at some of these examples. And these are just going to be examples. We are not going to be endorsing any of these tests in any way. These are just recently authorized tests by the FDA. So Euroimmune US ELISA test got authorized very recently, and I talked about that in a video. It's a high complexity test because number of reagents involved. ELISA is a very sophisticated technique, is done in special labs. Roche's test also got authorized, but it's done on highly automated systems which are already there everywhere. People are trained to run on them. So it's moderate complexity. And Abbott ID Now, you might have heard about that in the news, is waived because it's a very simple, easy test, very simple use instructions, doesn't require any special technical capability or training. So it can be done in the patient care settings, point of care, without having all these extra controls. So these are some of the details of the limitations for each different test. Unfortunately, as it turns out, most of the RT-PCR tests, which are used early in the infection to detect if someone is infected or not, are categorized at high complexity tests. Not many tests are available at point of care settings. So as a result, most of the labs have a huge backlog and there's a delay in reporting test data. I'm sure they're working on it, but there's a limitation. Antibody tests, most of them are high to medium complexity tests. So there is a limitation that we just don't have enough tests that can be run at point of care under a waiver. FDA is working with many developers. I attended a recent town hall where they described what they're doing. They're working with many developers to bring point of care tests to the market. They are looking at antigen tests, which can be rapidly deployed. They are very easy, very quick, and they can be done at point of care settings without these high complexity or moderate complexity requirements. So there's a lot more to come in this area, and hopefully there'll be continued innovation as we learn more and more about this virus and what it takes to detect it and understand the antibodies, the chemistry of proteins to have the antigen tests. Hopefully more and more will come out and this limitation will go away and we'll have literally millions of tests at point of care sites. The best way to keep up with all this is follow me on my YouTube channel, and here's how you can go there. You can find me on YouTube, or you can follow me on LinkedIn, where whenever I post a video, I always give you a link to bring you back to YouTube. You can subscribe that way. I want to hear from you, so send me your questions and comments. Anything else you want me to look into and prepare a video update into details of what it means, I'll be happy to do that. Finally, thank you for your interest and attention, and please be safe.